ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we are on Shidilza today, and we've actually seen an old friend and a more recent friend. So, Ryan, who are we seeing and what are they bringing to the fray?
On left-hand side in the blue, we have Tanner playing 122nd Infantry with a Maverick income. Right-hand side in red, we have Rommelv playing 15th Scot, also with a Maverick income.
So I'm actually kind of excited to see the Scots. We don't see that many Scots anymore, which is kind of strange.
They kind of lost their mojo, so to speak. The infantry is just really crap compared to pretty much most other allied-based divisions now. Rifle spam is not as it was like an ST-44.
This seems true. I will say, we have a couple, sniper pairs actually firing defense groups, and these charging vicars. It's quite an interesting variant of what usually used to happen way back when.
Yep.
But we can see right now, early push down south. We see a lot of the 122nd just kind of charging on further forwards. And the usual Scots breakout, not really happening.
Oh, the problem is those bloody Churchills are really slow. I mean, we've seen runs down south are going to take another minute or two to actually get anywhere useful onto the front line here. So I'd say, really with Scots, a bit more better in terms of the balance division, but I'd be curious to see how Rommel does use them in more of a Maverick playstyle. They're not exactly a division I think of as Blitzkrieg warfare.
Yeah, not really quite what you think of there. But hey, that's the problem with the 15th. I mean, it's the problem with the 15th Scots if that's all full of Scots. Vicars in the meantime. Oh, geez, IG-30. Okay. I'm trying to figure out what that goes firing down, way downtown. It's the IG-33 just kind of lofting rounds.
Yeah, but that's definitely a good target because that's the main thing which can suppress those infantry. We're seeing the Pak-40 take up that road right now, but here comes the Typhoon, and now for Fareed, it's really going to come down to good use of air power and really artillery, as you need indirect or airborne artillery weaponry to kill a lot of dangerous threats, because your infantry is not going to do that.
Can we just kind of look to the north? There's going to be a true flame war as just 8 oodles and oodles of just flame troops.
That is a lot of bloody flamers.
So, lots and lots of flames, lots and lots of Molotov cocktails. The Assault Pioneers, these guys used to be the bane of every Axis division, but no, not anymore. These guys have just been kicked in the teeth. Wow, they crumbled just now.
Yeah, those Finnish, CQC troops are nuts. That Tourney is much better than most other SMGs, especially a bloody Bren gun, of all things. And Tanner's gonna pretty much capture this northern forest area once he kills the 6-pounder. That'll be another flag under his control.
It certainly will. I mean, the Scots are gonna try to rush in some Honey Stewarts and a Humber. Probably a pretty good idea, since right now there's just a couple of anti-tank rifles. And a very plucky, I'm not going to try to say it again, but I guess La Hila Junta. But that's probably, I don't know.
Oh no, that's probably pretty close actually. Or La Hila Junta, that's how you probably try to say in a really bad Finnish accent. Just speak Finnish is really fun. It's like all these vowels which just kind of come out of nowhere.
Don't worry guys, for right now we're finished.
End video.
Exactly, and scene. Down to the south, so Humber's moving on in again, and a Honey Stewart. And I kind of want to watch, the anti-tank rifles kind of engage them. These things are so cool, and at the same time, it's such a shock that these things are still being used, even this late into the war.
Yeah. I mean, of course, against more heavy armored tanks, they don't do great, but when there's armored cars or anything a bit more lightly armored, an anti-tank rifle can still kind of blow them up. The Honey Stewarts are a little bit more armoured compared to things, but the Humber is definitely exposable to those anti-tank rifle shots.
Oh, the Honey Stewart says, dude, I don't want anyone that smoke, as he leaves his companion to smoke on the battlefield, so yeah, they still are quite deadly, I will say that.
Yeah, but it's going to be hard for him to regain his northern position. That's just a lot of flame infantry he has to deal with, and he does not have any CQC infantry which can
No.
deal with that. He essentially has to either bomb the hell out of the forest or artillery it, and that's way too hard because you don't know where you're shooting. You essentially have to run infantry into that trap.
Well, let's see. In the meantime, Focke-Wulf 190 coming to the south. Going to that Churchill. I'm not sure why he's really antagonizing that guy. I mean, he's not doing anything. Just let this Churchill be by himself. Oh no, he's gonna move away. Okay, that's a much better call.
Leave the Churchill alone.
Exactly. So we're gonna go for a bit of a mix of those ideas you were talking about. Assault Pioneer's been moved on in, as is a 3-inch mortar and rifles. So going for a mix of all three ideas.
Yeah, definitely that mortar is a very good call, and you really need to be using artillery a lot with 15th Scots to actually make any headway, especially in a infantry fight such as this. It's just going to be whether the Assault Pioneers can hold up to that amount of firepower long enough for the mortar to come in clutch.
Could be a tough ask, though, I feel like. Humber trying to engage some of those heavier infantries that kind of scoop across the battle space over here, northern side. But as you might suspect, smoke comes down, courtesy. The Flammenwerfers, and then life moves on. Life finds a way.
Just looking at the map, it's pretty, like, 50-50. I mean, Tanner's got the victory, of course, right now. The point advantages of flags, but there hasn't been any major breakthroughs, really. It's just been small skirmishes along the middle. And up north, bit of a furball.
Indeed. It kind of had that weird moment where the one Focke-Wulf kind of dropped its bombs and then started shooting at one of its aggressors. It felt very kind of like Star Wars Episode 7-ish. And I was like, I don't know.
It was a fighter and a bomber.
It's kind of crazy to think that was even a thing at that point,
Yeah, he would, like, why would you combine both things when you could just do one of those things really well? I don't think I would catch on.
As of right, oh geez, that typhoon. I thought the typhoon was going to be right there, but then that's why. Holy Moses!
If you had one more flak gun, you'd have a flak throw-in.
True. Unfortunately, he's not cool enough for it. Dedicated fighter moving on in. And we're probably gonna see one of the fighter bombers go down right about now. Yep.
Oh, typhoon!
He was smoking already.
I forgot how scary those typhoon planes are.
Yeah, the quad 20s, yeah.
Yep. And here comes the other typhoon trying to get the Focke-Wulf on the rear, but the other Focke-Wulf are being forced to evac here. It's to get pretty dicey here for that one Focke-Wulf behind enemy lines.
But he realizes discretion is a better part of valor, and he F's right. No, what are you doing?
Escape, or you still can. Does he have the speed?
That's what this is. No, what he's doing, he's trying to just draw him into the ground attack. The ground fire, rather.
Ah, smart move.
Don't give him too much credit. I don't know, man. You know those fly boys. Watch him still go down from this anyway. Hey, Typhoon gets killed. Nice. Looking back to the northern side, yes, one of the Focke-Wulf fighter bombers did go down, but when they delivered their payloads, they shut down that kind of moderate push from the Scotch infantry. So well done there.
Yeah. I mean, up north, his push isn't going at great for threes. He's managing to encircle the infantry of his tanks, and there's not a whole lot Tanner can do against these Stuarts right now. The Stug 4 is not in position, but just getting a foothold into his forest is gonna cost him a lot of resources. You really need off-map, now I think about it. He does have off-map available, so that's what he will need.
He does, but it's way too expensive for him right now.
He is actually bringing it up right now. But it's a Churchill off-map, so it's gonna take a little bit for it to actually get into a position to call in the off-map onto the map.
Well, in the meantime, Stug is going to start deploying to engage those Assault Pioneers? No, he's not. He's not going to do anything whatsoever, because he can no longer see them. Fascinating.
Fascinating indeed.
I'm trying to see what else is really kind of going on here.
Really just the north.
Exactly. What are the... Oh, jeez, I turned away for 1 second, the Stuart goes down. What the killed the Stuarts?
I think it's an anti-tank rifle.
Seems entirely possible and very, very likely. Churchill OP is getting engaged by the Stug, and watch him go down. He delivers one barrage to the front for 130 points. Congratulations. That was an unfortunate expenditure right there.
Yeah, and you can't really be affording to lose those off maps. He needs those, like, quite critically to clear out these forests, so very good pick here from Tanner. And that one Stug 4 is in a great spot to just shoot anything coming down the road. It's really going to force Fareed to get probably a 17-pounder to try and counteract that Stug 4.
Oh, he does have him in A. I was looking over here at the deck before, and I kept reading that first card as being just two cowards of 6s. But that is not to be the case. 16-8. Geez, we turn away for 1 second again.
What the hell?
Exactly. Down south, we picking up flags. In the center, he picks up flags. It's because these lines are just so porous right now. He's been concentrating all of that material, all of those men, all those resources on the northern side. And meanwhile, well, Pierre or Tanner doesn't really have the same kind of issue.
Yeah, I mean, pushing the central quadrant is definitely a very good call here for Tanner, just because those flags are pretty close together. It's a pretty, I'd say, resource-rich, but flag-rich location. And we're seeing down south he's also just starting to make some maneuvers here, and the Scots just can't really hold up against his firepower.
No, they can't. And I mean, geez, the IG-33 that's been sitting there since the absolute beginning of the game continues to get shots on down the range and continues to get kills for them. So, really quite hard to make a whole lot of noise about Tanner's approach here so far.
Indeed, indeed. And Tanner just has a really good momentum going on for him right now. I mean, if that's 16-8, it's going to be very hard for Fareed to do a counter-attack. And it's not like there's, you know, an income advantage for Fareed. They're both playing the same bloody income.
That's also true. And we're going to the sweet spot here for him as well. So, let's see that continue. And geez, now he's making a push over here in this town, too. So they saw Pioneers. Forced into pin down. There's no officers out here right now, so what's going to happen? They'll get picked off.
They definitely will be. We're seeing the Grenadiers being brought in spades to clear up that town.
Well, field engineers and Flammenwerfers, yeah, when Flammenwerfer troops actually are standing up to their opposing numbers with greater numbers and, in my mind, at least as good. There we go, he dies. But he killed 4/5 of that field engineer squad.
Yeah. We are seeing Churchill reinforcements, but, you know, the problem with those Churchills are really slow, and they're the main, you know, choice of tank. I mean, they're going to be pretty good once you get to the front line, as with the 95mm howitzer, they can make short work of the Grenadiers, but, well, Tanner's going to have enough time to get into a good position for the Grenadiers.
And certainly seems to be the case as of right now. Now, kind of mildly amused by the fact that the Typhoon came on in and not really quite the kamikaze run we may have been hoping for. Though he did get to at least slow down this push for right now, and that 17-pounder is picking off the occasional infantry squad. But the same thing is happening up to the northern side as well, as these, you know, Finnish troops just continue to constantly tie down any kind of reinforcements. It just stops them instantly.
Yeah, it's just in a really good defensive position here. I was just seeing even that one Stug 4. I mean, the Vickers can't really do too much against armoured units here, and we're seeing the Churchill Mark IV being brought in, but it's not gonna. It's actually quite funny when your British heavy tank has less armour than a German tank destroyer.
True. Churchill was. We were talking this back on Tuesday as well about the age of tanks. So wasn't the Churchill kind of on its way out?
Yeah, I mean, there was also just the whole infantry cruiser tank doctrine was not great in actual practice because commanders would misallocate tanks. But that's a whole other story. But then we got the Centurion, which is probably one of the best tanks ever designed.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about the Archer that was just like, so brave, who was already planning to retreat by the time it fired its gun.
Honestly, I'm really sad we never saw an Archer in Steel Division, because it is one of my favourite World War II tanks.
Oh, it's fascinating. It's just like, it's the only one that fights to run away.
Yeah. Oi, Nigel, we got this big bloody gun, right? It's really hard to put in tanks, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna get a Valentine, we're gonna stick it on backwards. So when it shoots, you can bloody get out of here before the Jerry knows what him. That was a really bad accent.
Wonderful. I know, I wasn't even sure what I was trying to go with in that one, but it seems like the right moment.
Yeah.
But we see it right now. Stug is going to engage both the Churchill and go down, but retarding process again. And that's really what you got to constantly be doing. You took the ground. That's fine. Now make him waste ammunition and time trying to dig you out.
Yep, we're seeing more Focke-Wulfs here. Actually been pretty bloody deadly so far, just bombing as many ground targets as he possibly can. And Farid is still not in a great spot. He's just needs to capture this one flag up north to bring it down to a +1 point bleed. But once we get into C phase, even though both sides have the same income, it's hard to get that momentum in C phase just due to that low income at that point. Usually the matches start to stagnate when it's Maverick on Maverick in that case, and whoever usually got an earlier game advantage usually just wins the match.
Wise words indeed. Now, one thing I'm noticing over here in the meantime is that the Luftwaffe is starting to suffer badly. We have seen, I think, 2 or 3 of their planes go down already, and 2 or 3 of a total 7 is very different than 2 or 3 when you've got 17, which is exactly what Yuri Tanner's got over here. Well, excuse me, Farid Rommel, rather. That said, planes don't take ground. Infantry does, and there's still an awful lot of infantry over here lined up for Tanner over Rommel.
Yep, and honestly a bit better infantry as well. I mean, the one nice thing about the Scots is you spam a lot of rifles. You never run out of rifle troops. They're just not very good. Especially, I mean, the rifle Piats aren't great. Losing the SMGs really hurts their firepower. 11-2 Bren guns isn't too bad, actually. And a Piat isn't too bad, but still, they're not... If it wasn't for Churchill, they would not be doing it as well against these infantry. But he's actually doing a decent job of slowly retaking this northern position. Tanner's infantry starting to take some casualties and has been forced back. It's just going to be about whether Farid can actually, gather some momentum and actually make a consolidated push somewhere.
Well, and it's not going down to the south, as we're going to see that 400 kilograms of explosives shut that down pretty well.
Oh yeah. That's a really tight cluster for those Scotsmen, so if you could bomb and run, will knock them all out easy peasy.
Well, and... Ooh, I didn't even realize we actually had the 76-2 howitzers over here in the central position for our good friend P. Ray Tanner. What's he engaging with them is the question. What was he engaging with them for this question? Not engaging them anymore, I can tell you that much. But in the meantime, yeah, that hillside is no longer going to be a Scots mountain. This is going to be far more, a fight to the finish.
That definitely will be the case. The Grenadiers are pushing on through. A lot of the Scots have been forced back. I mean, that one Churchill can provide some adequate actually provide really good adequate fire support. It's not a whole lot of anti-tank with that German infantry blob. It's just about getting line of sight.
Yes, but like you said, you have to get the line of sight first, and that's the issue.
Yep. If you can't see the guy, you can't shoot him.
Exactly.
Ideally, you want to shoot him.
You want to reach out with a bullet and just touch him on the shoulder. Yeah. Absolutely. Meanwhile, we're going to see these rifles are caught out in the open. Yeah, you can't fight even half your number when they're in forested positions and you are out in the open. You can see right now. Poor guys are just they're lions being led by donkeys right now.
Literal uphill battle. Up north, Farid is actually starting to make a little bit of progress up here. It's looking a lot less dire on this northern flank, managing to push the Churchill through the forest. But the problem in the north is that there's not a whole lot of flag opportunity. He can get out one in the forest, but that's going to be pretty tough to hold because he has to fight CQC in forest, which isn't exactly a Scot strong suit. Really, his best bet is to try to push like the central or southern positions, but I mean, just looking at it from Tanner's perspective, he has a lot of static guns and deadly weaponry over here, like a Pak-43 in the Central Hill.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was watching in the meantime, actually, there is a flak virling out there right now. Took out one of the Typhoons.
Nice.
So, yes. And the Honey Stewart was either forced... He was forced back, okay.
Not so sweet?
No, not so sweet at all. Do you want to make a quick call out? There still is a Flammenwerfer who is only now, losing the territory that he took, 15 minutes ago. But a very, very plucky individual there for sure.
Oh.
mortars in the meantime. He's fired through all the supplies from one of the supply jeeps. I'm trying to think about what can be done over here from the Scots side. The only thing that kind of occurs to me is just start spamming aircraft in every single direction, and you have to slam in 2 or 3 airstrikes and then push very, very quickly right after that.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just trying to spam 25 pounders, but even then, like artillery spam only gets you so far on this map because it's a pretty heavily forested map, so it makes it hard to kind of spot enemy positions and deal with them, especially with Scots where your CQC infantry isn't that great. And now, honestly, the Scots aren't very good anymore, and I think this is a really like perfect replay which showcases this. They just the tanks aren't great, and like you need medium tank spam to really get anywhere. You need somewhat, efficient infantry which can hold their own, and it's quite funny to see Scots go from, especially in SC2 early on, they were like really bloody good, but now they're just with all the other new DLC divisions and just a rework of the range changes and infantry fighting mechanics and all of that stuff, they've lost a lot of their splendor.
Well, we are seeing kind of, I think, I would argue, one of the last kind of major pushes over here in the center for motorized rifles. They're going to take some territory for the moment, but there's still, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squads going the other direction, and I think we're going to see, yep, both of the artillery pieces are going to be engaging right the center part of town. So, they'll hold it for maybe a minute or two, but I can't see them holding it too much longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said just now, we are in fact going to be into Phase C, which is not a strong suit for either side. And like you said, this is where the game stagnates. This is where, who's ever been holding the lead up until now is going to continue to hold that lead.
Yeah, it's just way too hard to make any offensive maneuvers when you only get 80 points a minute.
True. And we can see right now, Honey Stewart's trying to be aggressive. There's 3 Storm Grenadiers going in the other direction, so good luck to that guy right there. And Daimler as well, kind of puttering around, but this infantry's all going to get cleaned up here, and I would really argue even quicker than I thought. So last mortar rounds are kind of coming on out to try to be a little more supportive and successful. Not going to be enough. You can see right now, yep, they're being forced to fall back. And even the Churchill and 17 pounders that are sitting in close support, not able to do very much.
Oh, no. Not a whole lot. Yeah, indeed, the infantry, the Scottish one's been forced to fall back. It does manage to get stuck forward to a good kill. But
he wants the Churchill for it.
Yeah, and time to still hold the town. Just, having good machine guns in the infantry makes a big difference here for the Grenadiers.
Well, and just kind of taking a look over here as the map kind of continues to kind of tick down over here to what seems to be the inevitable conclusion, and there it is. Down to the southern side, what we had seen was a 50-50 before, and that is very much not that case now.
No, and pretty standard 1,000-ish difference. Not really too surprised yet. Kills, nothing crazy. Losses, rather,
Stug 4 did alright.
Yeah. I'm gonna say some Finnish. The Suomi pojat. That was awful, I apologise. Doing somewhat decent, knocking out the 6-pounder, but
Oh, that was the guy. Yeah, that was the guy on the top of that initially.
Yeah, honestly, nothing too crazy. At the same time, as a Scotch, you don't have a whole lot of crazy Uber targets to boast about. It's just blowing up British rifle troops or Scottish rifle troops.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to brag about that. No. That seems perfect.
But yeah, I think that replay just really showed just how far the Scots have fallen. It's just not a very good division anymore. You just lack a lot of that firepower, especially compared to 122, which isn't a super great division either. But just the Finnish infantry make up for that, and they have pretty good anti-tank and fire support capabilities.
Exactly. But any final thoughts there, sir?
No.
Well, folks, in that case, then, I think what we're going to do is we're going to call it quits for today. As always, we'll see you guys next week. But until then, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.